The point of this new video series was to use humor as a vehicle through which we review Big Ten football games played on the weekend prior to recording.
Hello, football fans, and welcome to the TeamRivalry.com Big Ten Week 9 preview. I am your host, Cliff Richardson. The video below me is our commentator extraordinaire, Mackenzie Richardson. Mac, how are you over there, or down there, or over there, or wherever you are? How are you in this precise location?
It's a nice little box, I guess. I don't know. I'm good. It's, not bad. But so I feel like, though, we should observe a moment of silence for Minnesota's Big Ten title hopes. They obviously went down in flaming defeat last weekend, and I don't know. I just think it's the right thing to do. So can we just real quick? Can we just do that?
Real quick. All right. Yeah.
Ready? Silence. All right. Here we go.
And
ready?
Go.
All right. That's good.
Okay. So here we are in week 9. And before we get into it, though, let's remind everybody where they can find us. TeamRivalry.com is the website. Mac, where can they find us on the socials?
You can find us on Twitter at RivalryB1G. That's a capital B, a capital G, and a capital R. Can't forget that. And you can find us right here on YouTube. Don't forget to like, subscribe, comment, and ring the notification bell. It's all free, so you should really just go ahead and do that, like right now, please.
Excellent. Hey, I just realized something. We were having a little technical problem with your microphone.
Mm-hmm.
I think the volume was turned down on my my laptop. Sorry about that. You were all ready to buy a new microphone.
I was. We don't have a producer, guys. So
$300 later. Oh, I should turn up the volume on my laptop.
Wow, thanks, Dad.
Hey, I do what I can. A big thank you to everybody who has subscribed already to our channel. We're coming along. We're doing okay. But seriously, though, subscribe.
Yeah.
This week, our teams on bye weeks this week are Maryland, Indiana, Purdue, and Wisconsin. And you know what? Last week, I was reviewing the notes, and I realized that I mentioned the wrong 4 teams that were on bye weeks. And then we went and talked about them as their game was coming up. So if anybody wants to go back and figure that one out, feel free.
So we need producer and fact checkers if anyone
Somebody
is
to stop us in the middle of the show. You're saying the wrong thing.
That team's not on a bye week.
But I'm pretty sure this week it's Maryland, Indiana, Purdue, and Wisconsin, all taking a very needed week off. Although Maryland's doing all right. They deserve a week off. The other 3 need a week off.
Could you just imagine if we get big enough that the players of those teams are watching us one week and then you say the wrong team has a bye week and the players are like, oh,
and they don't show up for practice.
They don't show up for practice.
Oh, Cliff said we were off this week.
Cliff, who? What are you talking about?
Hey, they talk about you all the time. All right, let's move into our review of our picks from last week. I can get the thing to move. There we go. Yeah, Max, take it away. What are our picks looking like?
Oh my goodness, they're so small. Yeah, well, so wait a minute. You don't have my picks in there. I thought you said you. Oh crap.
Oh no, I don't.
What were my picks? Oh no, we have to go back.
Can't change it now.
We have to go back through and remember what my picks were. Oh, I hope I didn't. I think I threw them away, but we can go through. That's fine. Whatever. We'll figure it out. It's fine.
Should we skip the picks and do that another time?
It's all good. I think I remember I called Ohio State to win. So why don't we just go ahead and give me that one? Because I called Ohio State to win. You called 60-3, and I am shocked at how close you were. Just shocked.
Oh, yeah, that is pretty amazing. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I called Ohio State 30-something to Iowa's 17, I want to say. Maybe 10. Oh. What?
Oh, did it just flip on you? Okay, well, here we go. We can change it right here as we're on the fly here. But you don't remember your picks from last week?
No, I didn't write them. Well, I mean, I wrote them down, but I got to go back through the videos.
Oh.
Yeah.
So how are we going to do this?
What do you? I've got my picks for this week, so we're good for this week. I can just go through this and not forget in the future.
All right.
Perhaps you've forgotten. We have 26 subscribers. We haven't made it big yet. This is okay.
This is okay. I wish I could write on the screen as you're coming up with. All right, let's get serious.
I'm pretty sure I called Indiana to beat Rutgers as well, so I don't know what happened there. You, however, called Rutgers, and you were only 7 total points off.
Yeah.
Woo.
Wow. The predictor came through last week. Now I'm upset that I changed it for this week.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Do you see your sum is 77? That is by far the best week that either of us have had.
Yeah.
By a lot. Wow.
That's
okay.
Not bad. All right.
That's really good. Yeah. The only thing that you called Wisconsin over Purdue.
Yep.
Oh, wow. You did call Wisconsin over Purdue. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm pretty sure I called Purdue over Wisconsin. So I know I'm a little bit further off on that one. And
yeah,
then,
I think I was expecting Purdue to win that game.
Yep.
And the predictor picked Wisconsin. So
yeah. And then the only game that you were like totally off on was Maryland and Northwestern, which that game made no sense. So that's not your fault.
Right.
Or the score predictor, I guess, however you did that.
Right.
Yeah. Wow. Nice work there. That score predictor is getting good.
That was not bad. Yeah.
Jeez.
Well then, okay. So then the next one's going to be off too, because we don't have the full thing in there.
Oh yeah. That says I was 281 points. Oh, yeah. That's not true.
Although even there, you're still winning.
Yeah. I guarantee it wasn't that bad. My picks are probably right over there in the trash can. I could probably go get them, but it's fine.
We pull our picks out of the trash.
Among other places. Anyway.
Well, moving on from there, you know what? And I should have put another slide in here, but I didn't. So I'm just going to go back to that one. Because I didn't put a slide in for the trivia question. I have the trivia question, and it's funny.
Okay.
That you mentioned having a moment of silence for Minnesota. And that ties in. That's going to be your clue.
Okay.
All right. The trivia question is, what comment made by Mark D'Antonio led to the now infamous Mike Hart quote, the infamous Mike Hart little brother quote? That's the question.
What
Let me try that again. What comment by Mark D'Antonio led to the now infamous Mike Hart little brother quote? Now, if you remember, that was the 2007 season. That was Mark D'Antonio's first season.
Yep. They held a moment of silence for Michigan's loss to Appalachian State.
Yes. That's exactly it. Yeah, I didn't know that.
Yep. They did.
This was new to me. Yeah. So Mark D'Antonio said they wanted to hold a moment of silence for Michigan.
Mm-hmm.
They lose to Michigan. And that's when Mike Hart, in response, said, yeah, we think of Michigan State as our little brother. Mm-hmm. And which is the one that gets remembered and dragged out every year?
The little brother comment.
The little brother comment, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, I also want to do a content analysis of the amount of times that coaches have, for whatever reason, and I get it, but given God a little bit, you know, like they say, like if you won a championship, well, you know, God is with us.
Yeah.
Is he not with the other team? So I want to do a content analysis of how many times it's happened where a coach has claimed divine intervention and then gone on to bomb.
Right.
Because that's something D'Antonio also said was when they won the Big Ten championship, I think in 2015, somebody asked him, like, you know, how have you been able to maintain MSU's success over these last few seasons, whatever. He said something along the lines of, God is just with us or something like that.
Right.
And then proceeded to have some of Michigan State's worst seasons ever after that.
What was that? You remember that Super Bowl with the Seahawks and Russell Wilson was the quarterback?
Mm-hmm.
I forgot who they were playing. But whoever they were playing, I think both quarterbacks had made professions of faith in Christ. And I believe the coaches had too. And so it was this big, like, uh-oh, they both are praying to God to win this game. Now what happens? It's kind of like that. That's like one of those comic book things. What happens when Wolverine's claws that can cut through anything hit Captain America's shield, which can't be destroyed?
Can't be. Yeah. Yeah.
It's one of those, big questions of life.
Do you ever wish that you could like go up to heaven and just kind of be a fly on the wall for when those prayers get up there and God's reading them and you're just like,
yeah,
what's going on, guys? Like, somebody's standing right next to him, just like, so whose side you gonna pick, huh?
Who are you picking?
You going with Brady? You going, huh?
Who's the Seahawks fan?
Yeah. Wait, Seahawks versus well, yeah, for
I don't think it was the Patriots though.
Oh, well, never mind then. Because Tom Brady's always in the Super Bowl, so I just went with it.
Usually, yeah.
Yeah.
So our first game of the weekend is between Rutgers and Minnesota. It's their third meeting. Minnesota leads the series 2-0. So Minnesota is undefeated against Rutgers, and Minnesota is favored in this game by 14.5 points. Wow. So you can see there, Rutgers is working on a 4-3 season, and Minnesota is working on a 4-3 season. After 3 losses in a row, Rutgers finally logs a win against Indiana. Just 2 more and they're bowl eligible, and that's going to be tough given their remaining schedule. They've got Michigan, Michigan State, Penn State, Maryland, not to mention Minnesota this weekend. Cruikshanks, the wide receiver, is probably about the only decent player with any kind of production on Rutgers' team. Otherwise, they're outclassed by Minnesota in virtually every category. Do you see anything Rutgers can do to turn this game in their favor?
No, not really. I mean, it's good that they snapped the how was it put? The Big Ten home game losing streak. That's what they snapped that against Indiana. So I guess I can't really remember the last time they won a Big Ten game, period. So I'm guessing that the road streak is still going on, the road losing streak.
Yeah.
But yeah, apparently they snapped the home losing streak to Indiana. So that was interesting. But I mean, Rutgers has just so very far to go before they can be even a little bit competitive. And I'm saying that knowing that they'll probably never reach the heights of like Ohio State or Michigan, not in any like long-term sense. But yeah, I think this season they're going to be lucky to get bowl eligible, and I don't think that they're going to come any closer to that this weekend.
Yeah, it looks like. Well, yeah, there are 4 Big Ten games this season. They lost to Iowa, Ohio State, and Nebraska. Iowa and Nebraska were home games. Nebraska was only by 1 point, but Iowa was 17 points.
Mm-hmm.
The other side of the equation, Minnesota. Minnesota has the same record as Rutgers, but at one time they led the West Division. Now Minnesota is a game behind Purdue and Illinois. They took a beating from Penn State last week. It was at 45-17. And before that, they lost to Purdue and Illinois. They need 2 more to be bowl eligible. Looking at their schedule, they've got plenty of opportunity because they've got Nebraska, Northwestern, and Iowa coming up. They'll end the season against Wisconsin, but Wisconsin appears to have turned things around. So QB Tanner Morgan didn't play last week, right? But he did. Right. He was dressed. He was at the game. He just didn't play. So chances are he'll be back this week, I would think. The backup, and I'm going to apologize for if I mispronounce his name. I think it's Kaliakmanis.
Wow.
He didn't do so well last week, obviously. That's, like I said, it was a 45-17 loss. If Morgan isn't back this week, can Minnesota win this game?
Yeah, Minnesota's going to win this game either way. I mean, Rutgers is just they're too weak an opponent right now, and I know like Minnesota's had some head scratching losses these last 3 weeks. I mean, especially considering with like how they started the season. So I think that they're going to get back on the right track against Rutgers, and honestly, like if Minnesota's season were in a different light right now, like if they didn't have the three losses, then I'd have a little bit more to say about them right now. But I'm kind of confused by them because they started things off so strong. Like defensively, they were really strong. Offensively, they were even stronger. And it just seems like these last couple of weeks, they haven't been able to stop anything. And then they also haven't been able to go anywhere. So I think that like Minnesota is starting to become a lot like Wisconsin, like how we talked about Wisconsin at the beginning of the season, that they look a lot better than they really are. And they always start off with some sort of expectations just to end up falling off in their late October, November games. So to me, it indicates a serious lack of depth on the roster for Minnesota, but I still think that they'll win this game.
All right. So as I said, this week with the score predictor, I did try to factor in a fourth quarter drop off.
Okay.
I just kind of made a guess as to how that would work. I'm gonna hopefully over the off season I'll finesse this. I'll go back through the games and come back and see what I can do. But using the fourth quarter drop off that I came up with, I think I've got more realistic scores this week. Although as we saw on the spreadsheet, I guess I didn't do too bad last week, but yeah. I've got Minnesota over Rutgers 35-7.
Okay. Yeah.
Which seems plausible to me.
Yeah. Well, I almost completely agree with you. I myself am taking the Bucktooth Bandits 35-10.
35-10. All right.
Yeah.
Bucktooth Bandits.
The Bucktooth Bandits. And I'm gonna save my scores this time and not throw them out.
Not throw them out.
Yeah, that's my bad.
Not a problem. Our next game, Northwestern at Iowa. So we've got the 86th meeting between these two teams. This is our oldest matchup of the weekend without a trophy. Iowa leads the series 55-27-3, and Iowa is favored by 11 points in this game. Northwestern, as you can see, is 1-6. And they still have better stats than Iowa, except for the win column. It's bizarre. Northwestern has to win out to be bowl eligible, and they've got Ohio State still on the horizon, so that's not happening. So we already know Northwestern, unless they have a miracle game against Ohio State, they're not going to a bowl game. So normally we'd say a team with nothing to lose is a dangerous team, but in this case, they wouldn't even spoil Iowa's season. So it won't even matter in that respect. They actually showed some life against Maryland last week for the first half. Northwestern is just fighting for pride now. The win might not mean anything on the season, but just getting a win might restore some, I don't know, confidence to the program, or hope, maybe a little bit of hope for the program if they can at least win one more game. But how do they get this win against Iowa?
You know, it's kind of crazy thinking about Northwestern as a Big Ten team, just because like they're kind of that team that come out of nowhere every couple of years and win some games that they shouldn't. But when it comes down to it, I don't know, like, and it's with all due respect to Northwestern, the fan base, love Pat Fitzgerald. He's an awesome coach. I don't know what their expectations really are on a year-to-year basis. And that would, I would be interested to know if anyone over there is really all that disappointed, or if they're just kind of like, yeah, well, you know, but I'd be interested to know that. But I mean, for this particular game, they just need to play mistake-free football and keep control of the ball. You know, they don't need to score a ton of points to win. Iowa's proven over and over again that they can't really score at all. So Northwestern just needs to keep the ball out of Iowa's defense's hands, because they seem to be scoring more points than their offense right now.
Scoring, yeah.
So I'm not sure how Northwestern's defense is necessarily going to do, because like they're nothing to write home about. But like I said, neither is Iowa's offense. So I think playing field position and keep away with the ball is probably enough for Northwestern to maybe sneak out a victory here. I mean, it's probably going to be close. I don't see them winning a blowout per se, but talking about pride, I know we'll talk about Iowa in a second, but I think that Iowa's defense might be done.
Ooh,
maybe.
That'll be disastrous for Iowa.
Yes.
Okay, so I want to point out, I just looked it up on our team rivalry website. Northwestern has been to the Rose Bowl twice. So they did have a couple of good seasons, but
Yeah.
this was in 1949. They played UCLA. They beat UCLA 20-14. And then in 1996, they played against Southern California, USC, and they lost 41-32.
They showed up.
They showed up. Yeah.
They showed up.
So they've got something there. And I realize the
Yeah.
Rose Bowl isn't the granddaddy of the bowl games anymore, but they have been there twice.
They do have more Big Ten title game appearances than Michigan.
Oh, yeah. How many more? They've been.
Sorry to bring the mood down.
No. Let's see. Wait a minute. I'm trying to remember how many times they've been. Okay, they've been to it twice.
Twice.
Yeah, so Michigan's been once, they've been twice. And obviously they lost to Ohio State both times.
Yeah, obviously.
Obviously.
But they've also got more appearances than Penn State. So.
Good.
Yeah.
All right. The other side of the equation for this game is Iowa. Iowa has 3 losses in a row, and their season really hasn't developed any momentum at all. The defense, as we said, the defense scores more than the offense, and they have to win 3 out of the next 5 to be bowl eligible. Their upcoming schedule includes Purdue, Wisconsin, Minnesota, and Nebraska, not to mention Northwestern this weekend. They can probably beat Northwestern and Nebraska, maybe Minnesota. I don't know. Maybe Purdue. I don't know. I don't think so. So bowl game is not necessarily off the table, is it?
I don't know. I mean, I think it's off the table. They're 4-3, and I'm looking at, Northwestern's 5, Nebraska's 6. Okay, so yeah, a bowl game's not off the table. All right, but it doesn't. Iowa's on a whole different level of bad right now. So the first offensive play against Ohio State was an interception, and then Alex Padilla comes in place for Spencer Petras, and I'm pretty sure his first pass was an interception as well. So they can't do anything on offense, and I get Ohio State's defense is much improved. Whatever, it doesn't matter. We're at a point in the season where you're trying to play for pride. Yeah, a bowl game is still on the table. I assume Iowa has something left in the tank to beat a team that's 1-6. I would assume that they'd also have enough left in the tank by season's end to beat a very bad Nebraska team. But there's a scenario where they don't. And I'm concerned that might be what happens. So I think that this game will be nice for them because it'll help get them some confidence, because I really think that they'll beat Northwestern, even if I'm not I just said I really think that I'm pretty sure they'll beat Northwestern, even if I'm not totally confident in it.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't have a clue as to what that's going to mean for the rest of the season, because Iowa was supposed to go to the Big Ten title game.
Right.
So, yeah.
Yeah. Like we said, any other season, if Iowa is facing a 1-6 Northwestern team, it should just be a total blowout.
Yeah. Not close.
With Iowa being as unpredictable as they are this year, and with their defense scoring so many points.
Yeah.
Who knows? That's some of these games. It's just like, I don't even know what's happening anymore. This is just bizarre.
If the defense doesn't go on strike for the last few weeks here, I could see them pulling 3 wins out: Northwestern, Nebraska, and then Wisconsin.
All right. You think they can beat Wisconsin?
No.
Wisconsin has turned around.
Yeah, they kind of, that whole Michigan State thing was a thing, but they did just beat Purdue. So that's a good point. I'm going to say definitely 2, but maybe 3. And I'm looking more so at Minnesota now, but
all right.
I don't know. That depends on what Minnesota feels like later in the season, but we'll get to them.
So the team rivalry top secret score predictor has this one pretty close. We've got Iowa 14, Northwestern 7.
Wow. Yeah. Okay. Jeez, we're gonna have an interesting week.
Yeah.
Because I've got a pretty close one here. So I've got Iowa, I guess. 17-7.
17-7. Well, yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Pretty tight on that one. And game number 3. Go forward. There we go. Number 17, Illinois at Nebraska. Both of these teams are coming off of a bye week. Despite what I said last week. This is the 20th meeting of these two teams. Nebraska leads the series 13-5 to 1 tie. And Illinois is favored in this game by 8 points. So Illinois finds themselves in a tie with Purdue for the West Division, or a half game ahead. We were talking about that earlier. Trying to understand how the half game works. They do have one loss, and that one loss is Indiana. You look at Illinois now, and you think, wow, Indiana was their first loss of the season.
First game of the season.
First game, and it just doesn't make sense. This is a team that had lost their last 5 games, has lost their last 5 games. There's no doubt Bielema is a good coach. He is building a real program at Illinois for maybe the first time ever. In the last 20 years, they've had 6 winning seasons. In the last 30 years, they've had 9. And when I say winning seasons, I really just mean 7 or 8 games.
Wow.
So Illinois has the potential to make this a truly special season for the Illini. In their 5 remaining games, they've got Nebraska, Michigan State, Purdue, and Northwestern. And I'm going to say all of those are winnable. The interesting thing here is that Michigan is also on that schedule. I don't think they've got a shot at Michigan. Well, I shouldn't say that. It's not that they don't have a shot. I think they can at least give Michigan a run for their money, not running the ball. But I don't think they'll beat Michigan necessarily. But if they win the West and Michigan wins the East, they'll have 2 shots at them. Right?
Yeah. Okay.
Which, would be big for Illinois anyway. If they can make it all the way to the Big Ten championship, that'll be huge for Illinois. At this point in the season, what do you think is the ceiling for the Illini?
I agree with you. I think the ceiling is absolutely the Big Ten title game. So, yeah, looking at their schedule, I think it's like you said, they probably won't beat Michigan, although that's going to be a sneaky game for Michigan because the following week is the Ohio State game. Mm-hmm. So, as long as Michigan doesn't get caught looking ahead, then they should win. But anyway, yeah, I think Illinois' best case scenario is absolutely an appearance in the title game. I don't know that they'll beat either Michigan or Ohio State in that title game, but the fact that they're going is huge. Lovie Smith couldn't even it was Lovie Smith who was there before Brett Bielema, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. So, he couldn't even do that. So this is, something really interesting is happening with Brett Bielema there at Illinois. They actually have a really solid running attack right now with Chase Brown, who's got pretty similar statistics to Blake Corum at Michigan. And Blake Corum's being talked about for a Heisman, and Chase Brown's not that far behind him. So that's pretty exciting for Illinois' offense. So yeah, I'm really excited about seeing Illinois in the title game come season's end. That's going to be interesting.
Yeah, I forgot who I was watching today, but I was watching another sports show, and they were talking about Michigan basically having a clear run through to Ohio State up until Illinois started winning games. And now it looks like Illinois might actually give them a challenge that weekend before the Ohio State game. So that'll be interesting to see.
Yeah.
The other side of the equation here is Nebraska. And I don't know what to do with Nebraska. Coach Joseph is now 2-2. And their only decisive win is against Indiana. They have a shot to win at least 2 of their next 5 games, but that'll leave them just shy of a bowl game. At the stats, you've got Illinois has the defense to stop Nebraska's offense, which means Nebraska is going to have a tough time getting into the red zone. Can Nebraska's defense stop Illinois?
No, I don't think so. Nebraska's letting just about everything through right now. It took them a second half comeback to beat Rutgers, who's obviously not very good. Yeah, they beat Indiana by 2 scores, but Indiana's not very good. last week they got torched for almost 400 yards passing by Purdue and gave up 43 points. So, and Purdue is still a decent team at this point, no matter how chaotic the West is at this point.
Right.
So Wisconsin notwithstanding, I mean, Purdue is still a decent opponent. Nebraska is not, I don't think Nebraska is capable of keeping up with what Illinois got right now. I mean, Nebraska is on a whole different level with how, actually, I was going to say downtrodden they've been playing, but they've actually been playing with some pride, which you really do have to respect with a team that is in the kind of situation that Nebraska is in right now. But Illinois is on a different level than Nebraska because they're actually looking at the potential of a championship season. So Illinois is going to go way past Nebraska, but Nebraska's got something that could maybe help them get 2-ish wins through the rest of the season, maybe help with some pride, and maybe get them into the off season without losing too much of their dignity.
Well, the top secret score predictor has this is a pretty close one this week. We've got number 17 Illinois at 28 and Nebraska 17.
Wow. Yeah, we're pretty close again. So I myself am taking the Orange Men 34-14.
All right.
Pretty close.
Pretty close. We are running low on Zoom time, so we have a couple of big games to talk about here: Ohio State and Ohio State, Penn State, Michigan State. These are going to be big. So we are going to take a short break, and we're going to come back with those
two games.
I was going to try to say something profound there, but it didn't happen.
We'll come back with more insight.
And we're back. Welcome back to Team Rivalry Big Ten Preview Week 9. This is our preview, and welcome to it.
Good day, eh?
Good day.
Free t-shirt for anyone who gets that reference.
Right. We'll just keep making it until somebody gets it. Okay, so normally we'd save the highest ranked team for the last game, but as it turns out, this week we have Michigan State, which is the first major rivalry of the season. So we wanted to save that for the last game. So right now we have number 2 Ohio State at number 13 Penn State. This is their 38th meeting. Ohio State leads the series 23-14. And Ohio State is favored in this game by 15.5 points. And I believe what was Penn State was ranked 10 last week.
Yeah.
And they dropped to 13 after their loss to Michigan. No, wait.
No, I'm sorry. They were 10 against Michigan, 14 after that, and then they beat Minnesota and went up to 13.
Okay, against Minnesota. Yeah. All right. So last week we talked about looking for weaknesses in Ohio State. We were looking at defense as a possible weakness, but they hadn't really faced a strong offense. So last week they played Iowa and held them to 10 points while scoring 54, even if the first half, if I remember correctly, didn't look as good. Or am I thinking of the wrong game?
I mean, Iowa had a decent first half.
They had a decent first half, yeah. But as usual, Ohio State blows it out in the second half, and they ended up 54-10. So from that perspective, they really still haven't played anybody good, although that's not far off from the Michigan-Penn State game, which was, 41-17?
41, yeah.
But what I noticed last week against Iowa is that Ryan Day kept the first stringers in, even when they were up by 4 scores in the fourth quarter. So now, to be clear, I'm not criticizing Ryan Day for doing that, because I know our favorite Bo Schembechler used to do things like that. Harbaugh doesn't, but Ryan Day does. For whatever reason, Ryan Day is keeping those first stringers in longer than I would expect. He's risking injury on some of those key players when the game is not on the line, and that's really the big reason to pull back and not keep your first stringers in there. But my question is, does that indicate a weakness on the bench?
I don't think so. I mean, I would find it hard to believe that Ohio State has a lack of depth on their roster.
Yeah, me too. Yeah.
But yeah, I guess I'm not sure why the backups weren't played as much. And admittedly, I kind of turned the game off at like a minute into the third quarter. So if they did sub in the subs, then whoops. But I'm going to give Iowa just a bit of credit here because I thought that the defense played about as well as they could have in the first half without any help whatsoever from their offense. But I mean, you know, Ohio State can only score so many points before a team's will to go on is just broken. So I think I said a couple of weeks ago that I'm not going to underestimate Ohio State anymore. And then I went ahead and underestimated Ohio State again. I mean it this time. I'm not going to underestimate them. Okay. I'm going to forget that CJ Stroud had 2 turnovers, one of which led to a touchdown for the second straight week. I'm going to forget that I ever said anything bad about Ohio State's defense, even though they got burned in the secondary by Toledo. I said Iowa had a chance, but that Ohio State would win. The only reason Iowa had any chance at all in this game was because of the mistakes that Stroud made in the first half. So despite that, Ohio State still won by over 40 points. So yeah, I could say like I see weaknesses, but it doesn't seem to matter. So I'm not going to say that any of these weaknesses that I see are going to lead to losses until it actually happens. And maybe that's what this week, but I doubt it.
Yeah. On the other side of the equation, we've got Penn State, our old friends, the Nittany Lions, with their flavorful jams and jellies.
Yes. Oh, I forgot to tell you. I had a peanut butter and jelly sandwich in honor of Penn State before we were on the air.
There you go. See, we care about these guys.
We do. We love you, Penn State.
But wait a minute. Oh yeah, they are their third best team, the third best team in the East Division.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
With their peanut butter and jelly. I'm sorry, we're not doing trash talk right now. That's a video for another time. If you haven't seen the trash talk videos, check them out. They're hilarious. Minnesota's defense, however, could not stop Penn State's offense, but it looks like Penn State's running game still struggled against Minnesota, looking at the stats, because they had twice as many yards in the air for essentially the same number of attempts. Now, going off what you said about Toledo burning Ohio State's secondary, does Penn State have a chance at an upset if they keep the passing game going?
I mean, sure.
All right.
Sure. So, okay, I want to throw this in there real quick before I go on. I was reading that apparently Penn State fans booed Sean Clifford when he was announced as the team's starting quarterback against Minnesota.
Really?
Yeah. So just real quick to our Penn State fans, if you took part in that, if you didn't, good on you. But if you did, come on, that's really crappy. I don't understand why football fans boo players at all, and especially players of their own team. But he also had the perfect answer against Minnesota, throwing for almost 300 yards and 4 touchdowns. So that was good for him. Mm-hmm. I don't know that he's going to be able to do that against Ohio State. It's probably the best against Minnesota is probably the best that I've ever seen Penn State's offense against a competent opponent, at least what I think is a competent or thought was a competent opponent. But I mean, that's really only a week removed from, Sean Clifford's worst game ever, statistically speaking. So I guess it really just kind of depends on which Clifford shows up that week, but it also kind of depends on what Ohio State's defense is thinking that week too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's a good point too. I'm not sure if we've made it clear before or not, but like when we do our trash talk and stuff, it's not against the players, it's against the coaches, because these are kids out there playing football, playing their hardest. They love to play the game. It's the coaches that let them down. So it's the coaches, and it's the coaches, the ones that have the multi-million-dollar contracts. So we make fun of them as much as possible. Now, if this whole NIL thing gets out of hand and you've got quarterbacks and halfbacks and running backs and wide receivers making $1 million contracts off of endorsements, then yeah, we're going to start making fun of them too, because they can afford it.
Yeah. So Quinn Ewers, you better thank your lucky stars that we're not in the Big 12 because we would be ripping you up and down right now.
So the top secret team rivalry score predictor has this game reasonably close. We've got Ohio State at 35 and Penn State at 24.
Okay. Giving some love to the Penn State defense. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I was gonna say something. It's like 35 points is a lot of points, but that's actually pretty good against Ohio State.
It's pretty low for Ohio State.
That is pretty low. Yeah. Ripping someone up and down. That is a real saying, right? I didn't. Okay. All right. Making sure.
Rip them up one side, down the other. Rip them a new one. Yeah.
Okay. I feel you. So the reason I asked that is because if it wasn't, I would have felt like a nutcase, which makes me feel like I can maybe kind of connect with Ohio State fans right now, as sacrilegious as that sounds, being a Michigan fan. But nevertheless, I am going to take the nutcases 45-24. Boom.
Boom. All right, there we go.
Take it to the bank.
Now, I feel like we need a drum roll because this is the game we've been waiting for. Michigan State at Michigan. Number 4, Michigan.
Hey-o.
We've got our own maize out going here with the yellow sweatshirts that we have. Maize sweatshirts we had designed for team rivalry at the game. We wore them to the Michigan-Penn State game and got asked about them by at least one person.
Yeah.
Like, who's the freak in the sweatshirt? I don't know. I'm not sure who that was directed at. What?
I wonder if she looked at the website.
Maybe, I don't know. But this game, let's see here. So this game, okay, so Michigan State at number 4, Michigan. They're both coming off a bye week. This is our favorite rivalry game, the Paul Bunyan Trophy. Although officially it is the Paul Bunyan Governor of Michigan Trophy. I'll explain why in a minute. This is the 115th meeting of these two teams. The first game was played October 12th, 1898. Yes, 2 centuries ago.
Wow.
At Regents Field in Ann Arbor. Regents Field was their original field that became Ferry Field, and then it became the Big House. They're not in the same location. They're about a mile apart. Mm-hmm. I believe Regents Field is actually now where the practice stadium is.
Oh, neat.
Michigan leads the series 71-38-5. And I know this is controversial to you state fans, so just hang in there. We'll get to it. Michigan is favored by 23 points.
Ouch.
I'm not sure when the last time was Michigan was favored by 23 points, but I'm glad to see it.
2019.
No. Really?
It was at least 3 scores.
All right. The Paul Bunyan Trophy. So you can see it there on your screen, I hope. The Paul Bunyan Trophy was originally presented in 1953 by then Governor G. Menon Williams, which is interesting to me because the first rivalry game we had this season was the Governor's Bell Trophy for Minnesota and Penn State.
Minnesota, Penn State, yeah.
Yeah, which was also presented by a governor. So apparently governors like football trophies. Mm-hmm. It is, now, you can't really tell from the picture, but the statue itself from the feet up is 4 feet high. The base is 5 feet high. This thing stands 9 feet tall.
Wow.
If I'm understanding correctly, either that or they mean with the base, it's 5 feet tall. But the description I saw has it as the base is 5 feet and the statue is 4 feet. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe they mean the statue is 4 feet and the base makes it 5 feet.
I've seen them lift that over their head. Like when you watch them lift the trophy over their heads.
I have too, but I'm not sure that's the actual trophy, is it?
I thought it was, because I thought that's what they were doing now, is that they were allowing them to celebrate with the trophy on the field, because they used to not let them do that.
Okay, well then I'm betting that I read it wrong and that it's actually only 5 feet tall.
I was gonna say, if that trophy's 9 feet tall and they're lifting it like
yeah. I thought that the one they took out on the field was a replica, so that if somebody dropped it,
Oh,
they didn't break the original. But maybe it is the original out there. I don't know. I know the little brown jug, I think, is a replica because that thing is gotta be fragile at this point.
yeah, that's water jug. That's like 100 years old.
Yeah, it's like 100 years old. Okay, so this rivalry game, in the category of things we have to talk about so Spartan fans don't feel like we're arrogant Michigan fans, the rivalry statistics. Both Mac and I have had to deal with Spartan fans who don't like how we view this rivalry because we view it as more than 10 years old. A lot of Spartan fans don't. They think it just recently started. Yes. I personally grew up during the Bo Schembechler era. So for me, it was an anomaly when Michigan State won because Michigan just won all the time. They didn't, not against every team in the conference, but they would beat Michigan State just all the time. So to look at the Bo era, we have to include Gary Moeller and Lloyd Carr because Gary Moeller and Lloyd Carr both worked for Bo. So if we take 1969 is when Bo was first made the coach to 2007 when Lloyd Carr retired, the rivalry stood at 30-9. And during that period, Michigan State never won 2 years in a row. Never. Wow. That's the rivalry I grew up with. That's why when I look at this game, I don't understand how Michigan State wins it. But so some Spartan fans don't like it that we count this rivalry from 1898. They want us to count it from when Michigan State joined the Big Ten in 1949. 1949 is when they joined. 1950 was the first season they played. From 1950 to 2021, the rivalry stands at 38-32 Michigan. Much closer, but Michigan is still in the lead. Now, the D'Antonio era at Michigan State changed all that. Mark D'Antonio coached Michigan State from 2007 to 2019, and lo and behold, Michigan State pulled ahead 8-5. Now, I don't want to diminish Michigan State. They've been a good team for the last 15 years. But even during Michigan's worst era in the history of the team, and I'm not exaggerating when I say that, from 2008 to 2020, Michigan has had the worst seasons they've ever had. Not all of them, but the worst seasons they've ever had are in that time frame. Even in that time frame, Michigan State is only up by 3 games out of 13. So we fully admit Michigan State has dominated the rivalry ever since D'Antonio became head coach, and Mel Tucker is now 2-0 against Michigan. Having said that, looking forward to this weekend, none of it matters. None of it. It's all off the table. The stats don't matter. The history doesn't matter as a predictor of team performance. The history only matters in terms of how this game is played. And in the D'Antonio era, this game is a street fight from beginning to end. So that's the past. The present at MSU is they are on a 3-4 season. All 4 losses are back-to-back. Their first conference victory was 2 weeks ago against Wisconsin, and it wasn't really a statement win because Wisconsin isn't doing all that well, but it's still a win. They've had a lot of injuries. I'm not sure who's out this week or who's back this week, whether anybody is out or back or whether it'll matter either way. The Spartans can have confidence in their coach, though, because, as I said, Mel Tucker is 2-0 against Michigan, but will that be enough to win at the Big House this season with Michigan being as dominant as they are? Mac, what are you looking for? After me saying all of that, feel free to have any input you want on that. What are you looking for in Michigan State this weekend?
I don't know how in the world I follow that up. Jeez, that was intense. I loved every second of it. Nice job on that.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I don't want to fall in the trap. So, okay. I'm not going to fall in the trap of worrying about what anyone thinks about what I think, because I think things and I wouldn't think them if I thought that they were unthinkable.
It makes a lot of sense.
I didn't write that. That was
Just right there.
It's just the genius that exists in my head. Anyway, now that's all to say that I think Michigan's going to beat the crap out of Michigan State this weekend.
Yeah,
I really do. I do. Okay. Look, Mel Tucker takes over in 2020. I was the first one who said that he was a bust hire. Okay. And obviously 2020 didn't go the way that Michigan State wanted it to. Hey, we were there too. We didn't like it either. No. So 2020 is a dumb season. We're going to forget about that. But Michigan State still won. So congrats. Great job, guys. 2021. I have been ridiculously outspoken about how phenomenal a player Kenneth Walker is and was. Is now in the NFL. It sounds like he's doing fantastic in the NFL, and he did phenomenally well at Michigan State. I think that he probably should have been in the Heisman conversation a bit more than he was, but it's not up to me, so you can't blame me. I thought he should have been there. Okay. I also think that Kenneth Walker maybe won y'all about 5 or 6 games. Okay. Because he had 5 or 6 touchdowns against Michigan. And yet that game still came down to 2 calls that screwed Michigan out of touchdowns. So as good as, I'm just realizing that makes me sound a little bit contradictory. I don't care. I'm just going with it. Last year, you guys were good. You guys were very good. And I'm not taking that away from Michigan State. Michigan State was very good last year. Kenneth Walker was really good last year. That's fine. They can have that. I still think that there were bad calls in the Michigan State game last year that cost Michigan the game. That's my opinion. In the end, you guys still got the W. It's okay. This year, the scenario is completely different. Michigan State is 3-4 with one of the worst secondaries in the nation. Their secondary was already one of the worst in the nation last year. This year, they're even worse. Okay. So this game is going to come down to, for Michigan State, how is Peyton Thorne going to do against Michigan's secondary? So Michigan's secondary hasn't been at times fantastic against the pass. And Peyton Thorne is a pretty solid quarterback. The problem is that they've been very reliant on him because Michigan State has a really bad running game right now. They have not been able to rely on it nearly as much as Michigan has been able to rely on theirs. So Peyton Thorne is going to get his number called, 40 times, I think, against Michigan, because you're not going to run the ball. So Peyton Thorne's going to be asked to probably throw the ball 35, 40 times. Throwing the ball that many times, how often is he going to get picked off? He's got 7 interceptions. He's got some interceptions that happened at very bad times for Michigan State. Can he be consistent? Can he actually beat Michigan secondary? Can he get the ball to Jaden Reed, to Trey Mosley? How is that going to look? Are they going to be able to do anything? For the running game, I don't know what they're going to be able to do against Michigan's defensive line, because against the run-in, they just get better and better. They're going to have to start looking at some options and stuff like that to get Peyton Thorne running as well. But again, it comes down to Peyton Thorne. So all of this is to say that I'm curious as to how Peyton Thorne's going to do. If he doesn't show up, then the game is over. I already think that the game is over for them anyway, because I think Michigan's just too powerful this year. But when the game gets out of hand really depends on how long Peyton Thorne is playing consistently good football.
The other side of the equation, Michigan. Michigan is now 7-0 with a good win against Penn State. I don't know if anyone's calling it a signature win, but it definitely left no doubt that Michigan is real. They dominated that game. They pulled ahead in that game in the second half and just tore up the field. I've seen the quotes from Harbaugh and some of the players that they want to win. Typically the coaches are kind of holding back. You know, it's in general, yes, we want to win every game, but Harbaugh and the players are looking at this game as very personal, wanting to turn the tide on the whole rivalry. I was going to say something. I can't remember what it was. Maybe it'll come back to me. What are you looking for from Michigan in this game?
I'm looking for it to be personal. Okay, because like I said, now Michigan State fans, you can turn off your ears, you can go put your heads in the sand, whatever you want to do. And I get it. Michigan fans do the exact same thing. So I'm talking to everybody here, but right now I'm just going to talk to my Michigan friends. This game has got to be personal. Okay, because last year was stolen from you. And I get it. Michigan State fans are going to say, oh, another Michigan fan blaming the refs. Yep, sorry. Kenneth Walker ran all day, all over our defense. Okay, he did, and he is fantastic, and you guys should be very proud of him. I think as Big Ten fans, we're all really impressed and proud of him because he represented the conference very well. The problem is that you had a sack fumble for a touchdown that was taken away from Aiden Hutchinson. Everyone, the Big Ten admitted to that being a bad call. That alone would have given Michigan the victory. So Michigan, you have to be upset. The players have to be upset. They have got to, for 4 quarters, shut Michigan State down in every facet of the game. So I'm looking to see specifically, how is Michigan going to do in the passing game against Michigan State's legendarily bad secondary? JJ McCarthy right now has 1,300 yards on the season so far passing. He's only got 2 interceptions, so he's being pretty safe with the football. The thing is, though, is that Michigan doesn't even like to go to the air if they don't have to, and most of the time they don't. The running game right now averages 242 yards a game, which is crazy right now. I mean, that's really good. So they haven't been able to force turnovers on defense, though. And I think that's going to be something that they're going to have to look at. I know that's kind of a hard segue, but that's something that I think the defense is going to need to work on for the rest of the season, especially because if they can get a couple of interceptions out of Peyton Thorne, this game's over. And then that pays dividends moving forward, too, because if once they get past Michigan State, I know we were talking about Illinois as a trap game, but then you just saw CJ Stroud turn the ball over twice against Iowa. If Michigan can start generating some turnovers, all of a sudden that Ohio State game gets even more interesting than it already was. Mm-hmm. That being said, I'll bring myself back to this week. I personally think that Michigan is going to have their choice of whether or not they want to air it out and end the game early or run the ball and just play keep away for an hour. Either way, I expect Michigan's offensive line to feast. They're going to be dominant, and I think that Michigan's going to win a blowout.
I'm reminded what you were saying there is that old line that if the game comes down to the refs, you didn't play well enough to win the game.
Yes,
and
that is true.
But I actually forgot about that fumble, that scoop and score from Hutchinson. Mm-hmm. I remember, yeah, they did call that one a bad call officially. Unfortunately, they couldn't change the game.
Yeah, but so if I could just say something, like I get that statement. If it comes down to the refs and you didn't play well enough, the problem is that sometimes you have 2 teams that are just that evenly matched.
Right.
And so the refs need to call a clean game, or they're going to be the ones to decide to decide the game. And if they do it wrong.
Yeah. Well, and I think that game was the exception to the rule, especially since they actually admitted to it.
Yeah.
So it has to be the exception to the rule in that particular game. So,
right.
So yeah, this game this weekend should be personal. It's, I can't remember. I think the last time I looked forward to the Michigan State game was 2008. Mm-hmm. Rich Rod's first year. And then obviously that was a disappointment. Mm-hmm. So yeah, it's been a long time. I didn't even look forward to it last season because I think if you remember, I think last season was the season I really wasn't expecting anything from Michigan. I'd kind of given up. Mm-hmm. And then it turned out to be a win after win after win after win. And I'm like, okay, well, maybe something's happening now. And then they lost to Michigan State. Yeah. But went on to beat Ohio State and win the championship. So that turned out to be a very, very good season.
I'll say this too, though. That game last year was extremely fun to watch.
It was, yeah.
It was. I actually found myself by the end of the game just being okay with how it played out. I knew that the refs were going to be, I knew that the refs cost Michigan the game, and I'm not going to have my mind changed on that. So if I sound arrogant, fine. But I just genuinely enjoyed watching that game.
Yeah.
To see both Michigan teams play that well was just awesome.
Yeah.
So anyway,
I remember that. Yeah, I remember feeling the same way. I wasn't as upset over the loss as I thought I would be.
yeah,
And I think part of that was what I just said, that I wasn't expecting anything from Michigan. So all of the wins were a pleasant surprise. Losing to Michigan State was whatever.
good on you, boys.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Then of course that game against Ohio State where we're just screaming the entire time. We're just going for it at that point.
We're in it then.
Yeah. Okay, so the team rivalry top secret score predictor. I like this call. I don't know if this is going a little overboard.
Go for it.
But this is what we've got. Michigan 45, Michigan State 7.
Wow. All right. So
What do you got?
if that's overboard, I mean, oh, it's backwards. You
44-10?
can't- Yeah, 44-10.
All right.
Yeah, I'm taking the big bro 44-10. I'm with the score predictor on that one. And that is the exact same score as the 2019 game. So I've just got that game in my head right now. I think that's how it goes.
All right.
Yeah.
I'd love to see it. I'm looking forward to this game. It's going to be an exciting
Mm-hmm.
weekend.
But to the state fans that are still watching, good luck. Have fun. If your team wins, congratulations. Have a good time. It's going to be a great game. I'm sorry your team's not playing as well as ours right now, but just it's football. Football is always fun. Just keep having fun with it.
And that is going to do it for us this weekend for this preview. Like we said, this is going to be an interesting weekend, not only for Michigan but for Ohio State and Penn State, because that game could answer a lot of questions too for all of us.
Yep. That game is a make it or break it.
Yeah. Don't forget to like, subscribe, comment. Tell us what you're thinking. Tell us what you think about what we think. Tell us what you think about what other people think. I don't know if we'll care, but you can still say it if you want to. Any parting thoughts, Mac?
I really want to make sure that Michigan State fans know I think you know what I'm trying to say.
I hear you.
Just good luck, guys. I don't like your team. That's okay. We can still have fun talking football. I don't like your team. You don't like mine. I think mine's going to win. Yours is fun to watch sometimes. It was last year. Sorry. I'm just trying to connect with you guys. I'm sorry.
We got to remember we're all a Michigan family. We need to get along.
Yes. We're all one big happy family where the big brother and little brother need to get along. I'm sorry.
Some siblings are older than other siblings. It's just what happens.
That's what happens. Yeah.
But I think we can agree that we can all just take a moment of silence, as D'Antonio once said. And nobody remembers.
I remember.
I didn't. I just found that out today.
At least, can we all just agree for a second that Western and Central are just kind of the awkward twins, that are younger than all of us, and then Eastern is that little infant sibling that we forgot existed.
Can I play?
We
No,
exist.
you can't.
Get out of my room. No, I'll throw that in.
Thanks for hanging with us all the way through. Mac, take us out.
This is Team Rivalry.